everybody, my name is Martin. I'm doing a review on this Kingquad, Suzuki Kingquad 400 FSI. It's a 2019 that we bought new in 2019. And looked up the specs of the current model, so the 2025. It's literally identical. There's a couple changes I'll go through. And the differences between the FSI and the ASI, but there are two models of this ATV. One thing that kind of attracted me to it when I was purchasing it was the fact that this is a shifter. So this is a 5-speed transmission, so it's kind of a clutchless CVT, I guess, with the 5-speed. So you got kind of the best of both worlds on an ATV. So there is a FSI model and an ASI model, and so there would be both the 400cc. I think it's actually 376cc, but I did notice that the FSI basically has again that shifter transmission, so 5-speed, and the ASI has just a CVT, or just like a clutch, a gearless transmission, so just like your regular ATVs. I've had a lot of ATVs and ridden a lot of ATVs, and really impressed by this little machine here. It's a really fun little ATV. It definitely, you know, just going by the butt dyno, if you never told me this was a 400 and I took it out for a ride, again, the butt dyno is probably going to register this as a 500 or 600cc just because of the power. And I think all of that can be attributed to the fact that it is a shifter. It has gears, so you can more optimize where you want the power in any situation. So just having that gear. And I also think that the transmission or the CVT would be a lot closer ratio or smaller ratio, so that basically when you're shifting, you know, you can imagine that a regular ATV with just the CVT system, you know, that can go anywhere from a stop to 100 kilometers per hour or whatever the top speed may be, but you're not really optimizing the power of the motor delivery with just that, you know, with a CVT with such a wide range and such a big ratio. So I think that this CVT is a lot closer ratio than regular ATV without gears. So you kind of always get to have it in that sweet spot, and you decide what gear you're in for what situation, depending on what power you want or need at the time. And I think that kind of makes this thing punch above the belt in how it feels, because it really is impressive. You know, you could be going down a dirt road at 60, 70 kilometers per hour and gas it, and you can easily light up these tires and fishtail it and stuff like that. So it's fun, and it's small, it's narrow. So when you're in some pretty complex off-road trails, you know, where the larger ATVs have an issue with, you know, getting through obstacles and stuff like that, this thing is, well, it's still a good size ATV, but it's a lot smaller than those 1000cc and 750s and 900s and all that kind of stuff. But a couple of cool features about this, and things that I never really thought of when I was buying it. Again, I was just attracted to the fact that this has gears, and it's probably, I don't know many of these ATVs that have 5-speed transmissions, but I think I remember the Honda Ranger or something like that, that had that kind of silly electronic shifting on the right on the handlebars that was electronic, and I know those were problematic. They had a lot of issues with working properly, and you'd always have to take them apart and fix them, and yeah, that was kind of like a failure. But it did have gears, and it did kind of perform like this one does. But to me, there's nothing like just actually shifting. I ride motorcycles and stuff, so it's very natural to me to shift gears. The only difference is between a motorcycle and this is neutral is all the way at the bottom. So typically on a motorcycle you have neutral between first and second, and on this it's all the way down. So you just keep kicking it down, you hit neutral, and then from there it's up every gear until you hit 5th gear. But yeah, that shifter capability of this ATV has just really made it a lot more enjoyable. And then the other thing that I never really thought of, well, this is kind of a, I guess you would call it like an entry level, you know, it's one of the smaller ATVs, but it does have a solid axle, and I didn't realize until after that, you know, all these ATVs with independent rear suspension, they literally have no towing capacity because you have all the A-arms there and everything, and it just is literally not strong. Where here you have basically, you know, a solid axle, so you have quite a bit of towing capacity. I think the, you know, you can look at these 750s and 900s and 1000cc ATVs with independent rear suspension, and I'm sure there might be an advantage to it in handling and off-road capability, but you really lose that towing capacity with that independent rear suspension. And with this solid axle, I think this is actually rated from the factory at being able to tow 969 pounds or something like that. So let's call it 1,000-pound towing capacity. And I actually launch a 16-foot boat. If you look at my last video, that boat that we have, which is a Campion 16-foot boat with a 60 horsepower outboard Mercury command thrust, and so the total package of that, I'm guessing between 1,500 and 1,800 pounds. So I'm probably exceeding the towing capacity on this, but it does have a selectable high and low range. So you do have a shifter here, so you got high range, low range, and reverse. And this thing just pulls that out of the water like nothing on a pretty bad launch. That's got a lot of mud and rocks and stuff like that, and it's a good incline, and it just pulls it out in low range like at idle, basically in 1st gear. So that's kind of a really good thing that I never really thought of, because for a couple of years I never really launched the boat with the ATV, and I always used to use a car or SUV to launch the boat, and that's kind of a pain because, you know, you're hooking the boat up on the trailer, you're all wet, and then you get in your car and stuff like that. So what I did was, one day I thought, oh, you know, I should maybe try and launch the boat with this ATV. I towed it around the property, no problem, like just to store it and stuff, like, you know, moving it around. So I thought, oh, I'm gonna try and tow it, but I always thought maybe the weight of it, you know, it wouldn't have the traction, or it wouldn't be able to pull out the boat in those conditions, but it easily does it. So one day I took it to the launch, and I kind of half launched the boat and then pulled it out. And I'm like, oh, well, it's doing it no problem. So I decided I'm gonna go a little bit more until I like launched the boat with it. And I was really impressed with how it's just literally effortless to pull that boat out of the water. And I'm guessing, you know, again, that's 1,800 pounds. That's not a light boat or package, like with everything on the trailer. This one's completely stock. I've done nothing to it except for this winch. This was a dealer promotion when I was buying the ATV. It came with this free winch, so I actually installed it. Came with a adapter plate, so it just literally bolt in and just wiring, and I mounted the winch controls on the handlebars here, fused it independently and all that. So yeah, that has come in handy too, actually, the winch. And this thing is, I just looked it up, it's actually 620 something pounds, 626 or 629, so it's not really that light. I thought it would be lighter, but it's not. So up front it has disc brakes, like dual disc brakes on each tire, and in the rear you have this one single drum brake because it's a solid axle. And I actually did have a problem. My only problem with this machine in 6 years was the rear brakes, and I think what happened was it is a waterproof assembly, but it does have like 2 vents on it. They're really small vents, but I was launching the boat, or actually pulling it out in the fall, and the lake water was really low, so I had to really put the ATV like right up to the running board, so I completely submerged that rear brake assembly in the water. And I think what happened was water ingressed into that, it's a drum brake, so the water got into it and kind of congealed with that brake dust, and then it kind of coated the brake shoes, and I was getting an awful squeal and a little bit of the brakes would kind of get stuck on, so they were dragging. And so I did actually just recently, just a couple weeks ago, I disassembled this whole hub. So you got to take off the wheel, take off the hub, take out the end drive axle, and then you could get this cover off that the whole thing is encased in. It's all sealed with an O-ring. And then this pivot here, right where the brake is, that was kind of sticky. And then so just a combination of just the water getting in with the existing brake dust, it just did a number and kind of coated those shoes. So I did take that all apart, sanded down the pads, put it in, assembled everything, and I used marine grease on the pivot in the rear wheel. So now if it gets wet, it should never have a problem with that again. Probably if I'm gonna submerge that entire brake assembly in water, I probably want to take it on a little bit of a ride and use the brakes to dry them out a little bit. But yeah, that's the only problem I've had with this machine. It does have, I was looking at the new one, the 2025. They come in the same colors. I think literally everything is the same, but there are a few changes that I saw. This has like an enrichment system to start it, so kind of like a choke. Even though it's fuel injected, it will kind of stutter if you just start it without it, so it's nice to warm it up for a couple seconds with that enricher. And I think the new one has like an automatic enricher system, so I don't think you have that. And I think the 2025 does have some kind of traction control or something. I was reading on their site that they have like traction control that use ignition and fueling to limit slip and, you know, do some traction control. And it does say it has a torque sensing limited slip front differential, which I think this has too, and I think that's mechanical. So when they say torque sensing, I don't really think there's any electronics involved in that. Other than that, like it's a pretty good machine to have a lot of fun on, and ends up to be quite a utility machine. It really kind of changed how I launched the boat. It's a lot more convenient to just hop on an ATV all wet and everything, and it's just a lot easier to maneuver the boat back into the garage, because we pull the boat out every time. I don't really leave it in the water, so I mean it's literally really convenient just to pull your boat out, park it in the garage, and a lot easier to reverse with this than a car. It's kind of a little bit of a tight space to get off the road and then back into the driveway and get into the garage. So it's a nice setup now. I really like it. And then I think you know, like for 400, it just, like I said, I'm really impressed with the performance. And again, attribute all that to it being a shifter. I haven't ridden the non-shifter, so like just the automatic CVT version, but I would imagine that it would be a little bit slower. It wouldn't have as much punch as this machine. This engine really produces a lot of power. Like, it's surprisingly fast. It is air cooled. It does have a electric fan on it that I guess would kick in. I've only heard it kick in a couple times in trails in really hot weather, and it is air and oil cooled. So it has an oil cooler with a thermostat, and yeah, it never really runs hot, never overheats. Top speed on this machine is probably about 100 kilometers per hour. I've had it going 100. It's got kind of a, you know, nice dash. It's not just an analog gauge, but it does have, you know, your idiot lights, a clock, a trip meter, fuel gauge. So that's kind of nice. It, you know, it's not totally bare bones, but it does have a fuel injection malfunction light, temperature light, neutral, and a reverse indicator. And actually one thing that I'm pretty surprised about is even though these are halogen headlights, I mean, it's really sunny now, you can't see it, but it does have a high and low beam, so that's kind of nice, and a brake light and a rear tail light. But the headlights are surprisingly good in the at night on some dark trails in high beam. They're very adequate, and usually that's not the case with all these older machines with halogen lights. Like I know on my motorcycle, one of the first things I did was upgrade to an LED bulb, just because the lights are basically useless, but this actually performs really well at night. Like the headlights are great. The seat is very wide, very plush, very comfortable. You have kind of easy access to lift it. Everything's under there, your battery, and there is a little storage compartment here with a clip. It's kind of not really fun to take on and off. I guess I would just keep my paperwork or something in there, not stuff I would want to access quickly, like my phone or your wallet or whatever you want to put in there. It does have a 12-volt outlet here on the front fender, I guess. All these racks came standard, and they are, it did say that they are scratch resistant and everything. It's kind of like a wrinkled paint finish, but they are very scratch resistant because I've loaded stuff on this and never really got any scratches on it. I really like the color too. I think it only comes in red and green and this hunter, I guess army green or whatever. I kind of like it. It's a little less conspicuous when you're on the trail. Instead of being on this bright red machine, I'd want to kind of blend in and not really stick out so much. Yeah, so if you're thinking about getting one of these, I would say go for it. It sounds really nice. It runs really nice. It's got a lot of power. The towing capacity is actually pretty incredible. So I'll start it up here just so you can get an idea. But it does have a lot of gurgling and farting going on. Like it definitely has some grunt to it. Sounds nice. Like for stock exhaust, it's pretty loud. Oil changes aren't too bad on it. The filter is like buried in the front here on the machine, so I do typically take off the skid plate. And nice thing is that it actually does come with the skid plate, albeit plastic. I mean, I don't think it's like, you don't want to be going off logs and rocks with it, but it definitely does keep the dirt and water out of the motor and everything. But yeah, I haven't really done any other maintenance than oil changes. I have to say it's surprising, like the amount of power just with the gear selection. You just can really get the power you want when you want it. And I think that's the biggest difference, and that's what makes this thing, I guess, feel a little bit faster than non-geared or just a regular CVT transmission. I would really recommend this ATV if if you don't want all-out power. I'm sure those 1000 and 750s. I had a 750 Polaris in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was a 750, I believe. It was such a piece of garbage. I had so many problems. Like you got a drop of water on that, the CVT would slip, stuff like that. Well, we don't have to get into what I think about Polaris, but not really a fan. But yeah, this 400 definitely is a lot more fun and nimble, easier to handle in any trails than those bigger machines. I guess if again you're power obsessed, and I'm sure those 1000cc and 750s and 900s and all that would definitely outperform this, but it's a fun machine on the trails. You can definitely light up the tires at will. It also has, so again, you got the shifter here with the low and high range and reverse, and then you have four-wheel drive here, selectable four-wheel drive on the handlebars, which is kind of convenient. So when I'm pulling the boat out of really gross conditions, I'm in four-wheel drive low, and then when I'm on some trails, I'm always in two-wheel drive high, and if I get stuck, then I'm in four-wheel drive high or low, depending on the situation. The other thing is on the tires, they're really good tires. They're Carlisle, I don't know what they are, but they're a very knobby, very aggressive off-road tire. And but surprisingly, they're pretty good on pavement. So when I'm going on some trails, I actually sometimes have to connect, and hit a little bit of road for a couple kilometers, and that's where I would go, 100 kilometers per hour, and it handles really nice actually. The tires hum a little bit because they are really, knobby, aggressive tires. But you know, who rides an ATV on the road that much, but just saying it was actually surprisingly really smooth and nice on the road. So I'll do a little bit of another video of riding it, and maybe even take it for a little night ride so you can show the headlights and everything. And but surprisingly, it definitely out-tows its towing capacity, that's for sure, because that's one thing that really surprised me. It doesn't even seem to really struggle at all in low range in first gear, pulling a boat out of a boat launch full of mud and silt and you know, gravel and big rocks, because the boat launch we have here is paved. There's like pavers, but it was done in the 70s, and they have lifted out of the water, so there's a really big step, and the trailer axle on the boat trailer actually hits it if I take it dead center. So I actually launch off to the side of these pavers, which is just mud and you know, big rocks and stuff. Not even any gravel, it's just mostly rocks and a lot of mud. And just to stop that trailer from bottoming out on those pavers. But yeah, I was really surprised, and then how literally effortlessly this thing will pull that boat out of the water. So I'm really happy about that. I'm not sure what else to say. It came all factory with this bumper on it, these racks, and it's got, you know, I mean, you can tell its towing capacity just by looking at this hitch setup. This is just a regular automotive, I don't know what it is, a 7/8 shank or inch shank, 2-inch ball on it. And that's quite a beefy setup there, going to the diff and the axle for that hitch mount, and that actually came factory. So all I did was add that hitch ball on it. So that was pretty easy. It's just your regular automotive hitch ball. Other than that, I mean, it's a pretty nice little ATV, nice tires, nice, there's nothing I really don't like about it. I mean, I guess the only thing that would make this absolutely perfect in my eyes would be to have an actual clutch, like a hand-operated clutch, but I guess ATVs don't have that with the hand throttle, and then you have to have this brake combination. So on this side, this lever does the the rear brakes, and then you got a parking brake here, so you can put a parking brake on. And then this side does the front brakes, and this foot operated brake pedal does the rear brakes. So it's coupled with that hand control on the left. So yeah, it's pretty nifty. I would definitely recommend this ATV. Again, if you're not looking for all out brute power, it's surprisingly quick. Definitely can have a lot of fun on this thing. I really like it. But let's get to like a little bit of a ride review and see how it performs. I'm kind of rethinking the total weight of this boat now that I think about it. So I know that the boat is 1,000 pounds, like exactly, without the motor. And I know the motor is 250 pounds. And so I guess all the controls and fuel and everything, I would say that this boat definitely is, just the boat alone and the motor and fuel would be about 300 or 1,300 pounds. And I would guess this trailer to be, now that I'm looking at it, probably about 400 pounds. So we're talking about 1,700 pounds here in total. So 1,800 with fuel and everything. Yeah, I would say that would definitely be the total weight. So here we are, I'm in low range. Oh, I forgot 4-wheel drive. So we're in 4-wheel drive. In gear. So, I mean, the low range is really low. I'm already in 3rd gear doing 15 kilometers per hour. There's 4th gear. So we're going about 23. There's 5th gear. So in low range, 27, 30 kilometers per hour. Could probably go a little faster. This is 30 right now. It's not really revved out, so I would say roughly the low range gear ratio would be about a quarter of the final ratio. So if you're just looking at the low range ratio, it would be, you know, it seems about the same revs at about 100 kilometers per hour is about 30, so almost about a third, a quarter, somewhere in between there of the gear ratio. So low range is pretty low. It's about 25-30% reduction of the final drive. But as you can see, I got really no issue towing. The motor's not even working. Like, it's humming along really nicely. This is 30 kilometers per hour. And now we're coming up to the boat launch. So not a far drive, actually. Get the boat turned around here and back it in. Really easy to reverse with the ATV. That's what I love about this thing. Reverse, I guess, wouldn't be in a low range right now. Because that would be, I guess, the full range. But it's low enough, like it's easily towing. But you can see how bad this launch is. It's awful. These steps right here are really really steep. That big step right there is what I bottom out on the trailer with the axle when you got the two wheels straddling that and hitting that step. But anyway, that was the launch. And when I come back, I'm gonna pull the boat out and videotape that so you can see how it pulls out. But as you can see, there's big rocks here and everything, and it's a pretty crappy launch. All right, here we are. So this is just kind of an idea about this launch and the Kingquad 400 pulling this boat out. So I got it hitched up and we're ready to pull it out. But just to give you some idea about that step I'm talking about, it doesn't really look that bad on camera. But when you start looking, you know, at this angle, you can really see it's kind of a steep, shitty launch. And this thing right here, that step right there is what kind of kills my trailer. The axle kind of bottoms out right there. But let's pull it out and you can see the performance of this thing. All right, let's pull this thing out. So we're in four-wheel low. Go in gear. So this is kind of like at idle. I mean, it's kind of clawing a little bit. Very uneventful. It definitely just kind of hits it right out of the water. But it's not bad. Can't really complain about that. Definitely probably exceeding that towing capacity like I mentioned before, but not really worried. It's not like I'm towing at big distances, but definitely that's a pretty easy pull out there. And like I said earlier, if you just saw that clip where I showed that step, pulling it out on the side was a lot easier. With that axle on the trailer just clears that step, and then sometimes when you hit a bump, it actually hit it once, so I'm kind of launching to the side there. But yeah, that's a good demonstration of its towing capacity. All right, so here we're gonna take a little bit of a night ride. Let's see how this thing goes at night. It's a lot of stars out, but no moon, so it's too bad there's no moon. As you can see, a lot of background kind of stuff, you know, like with the camera. So here we got the high beams on, so like I was mentioning before, got really good visibility with the headlights. A lot of trees, pretty overgrown this trail. Right now we're doing about 60 kilometers per hour. I'm fishtailing a little when I give it some gas. This is 80 right now. But yeah, for stock headlights, this low beam and this is high beam. They got really good lights. I don't even feel the need to upgrade them. When typically anything halogen, I want to right away just upgrade them because they really poor visibility. But you seem to really do the job. I can really see well, especially high beams on. The shift's really nice. I do remember during break-in it was really notchy, kind of almost grinding, especially with second gear, third gear, and first gear. It was really notchy and grindy, and it got a lot better as it broke in. Right now it shifts absolutely amazing. But that was something that kind of, I was hoping it would get better, and it did, so that's a good thing. It does kind of aggressively downshift, and you downshift, you do have like a really, oh, that's a big bump. You do have a lot of like kind of wheel lockup when you downshift. And with the shifter, like, and the being a shifter, you know, with gears, you definitely have to release the throttle and then just shift. And when you do, it's really nice. You don't even feel it. Let the CVT disengage, but it's instantaneous. It's like you could just literally shift as soon as you let off the gas. So you can shift actually pretty quickly with this this shifter. It's just kind of like a motorcycle. You just briefly let off the throttle a little bit and then just shift. It's getting squirrely even like when you're really on it. You're definitely lighting up the tires a little. Had to back off a little bit there. And this is kind of like a gravel, like a limestone fine screen gravel, but it's really nice. Okay, I decided to switch the camera view to the back and put it in a little bit because I was just like coming really close to whacking some branches. But let's go a little further and try this thing out. So it's got a lot. I'm having to back off the power. It's constantly getting swirly in this gravel. Right now we're doing about 80 kilometers per hour. So I am in fifth gear. Let's take it up a little bit. This is 95. There's 100 almost right there. Just touching 100. I haven't been on this trail for a while. And it's really grown in. Oh, there we got a little bit squirrely. Wow, did this ever grow in? But yeah, there you get an idea. Really fun little ATV. More than enough power to get yourself in trouble, so. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm pretty sure those, really big ATV 1000 and the 750 I had obviously more power, but this definitely gets up there. It goes good. This is actually like a snowmobile trail in the winter, and it's a multi-use trail in the summer, so it's pretty nice trail. Obviously late at night there's really nobody out, but this is a really nice little bridge here, and a bay or a small lake. But anyway, that's kind of how it goes. Give you an idea about the performance. Definitely it really goes good, actually. Well, I hope you enjoyed this review. I hope I explained everything about the ATV, like all its features, options. Again, one thing I think that makes this thing really fun are the gears. Like, I mean, that you're shifting, and I really like that. It just wakes it up. It's obviously, you know, you can really pick where you want your power, what gear you're in. You definitely get a lot more control of when and where you need the power. And I'd be curious actually to try one of these without the gears, like with just like a CVT. I'd be really curious to see how they compare in power, or even drag race them, but unfortunately I don't have one. But that's my review after 6 years of owning this thing. I really like it. Good for towing stuff and like a little utility vehicle. It's I don't think you can really go wrong. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.